Hello there you guys, welcome to another of my live videos. And after the 1-1 draw with Everton yesterday at Goodison Park, Graeme Souness and Roy Keane, were both talking. Graeme Souness gave his verdict on Paul Pogba. Also too, Roy Keane had criticised David De Gea for, the mistake he did make leading to Dominic Calvert-Lewin's first goal for Everton in the game and that. So, Graeme Souness, as give his verdict on Paul Pogba. He did say, that he doesn't want to basically, be at Manchester United. He doesn't want to play for Manchester United and that. And actually, he did compare Paul Pogba's injury to the injury, that Andrea Gomez had for Everton, because I think Andrea Gomez was out for like 3 months for Everton, because I think he had dislocated his ankle. But what he was basically saying from his overarching view is that Andrea Gomez's injury was far worse than Paul Pogba's. So basically, Graeme Souness has said he is, lacking commitment, to recover faster and that. And he did say if Paul Pogba did want to play for Manchester United, he would have been available for selection by now. Paul Pogba has only played 8 games this season for Manchester United, due to the injuries he's had. And I think it's over a month ago now since he did have the surgery on his ankle, Paul Pogba. So he has sustained a few injuries this season. The last game Paul Pogba did start was the start of September. I think that's the last game he did start, Paul Pogba, and hasn't played overall since Boxing Day and that. So from Graeme Souness's perception, Paul Pogba, does not want to be at the football club, because he was mentioning, his lengthy absence through injury and that, because he has been out for a while. Now, obviously, Paul Pogba did reveal, that he wanted to leave Manchester United. He told his teammates he wanted to leave. He also, revealed last summer he wanted to leave Manchester United to seek for a new challenge, and he publicly admitted that he wanted to leave the football club. Now, if Paul Pogba does leave Manchester United this summer, I think he'll either go to Real Madrid or he will make a return back to Turin, because Paul Pogba did endure 4 good years in Turin with Juventus, and I think his actual preference is to make a return back to Turin. But we still know, that Paul Pogba is a very imperative player, and, I think he will play for Man United again, before he does leave in the summer. But even when he does regain full fitness, Paul Pogba, he may now find it hard to get into the team, because you've got Bruno Fernandes now that's making the difference in the team. You've also, got, Matic that's rejuvenated himself. Fred's also doing really, really well. McTominay's just come back, so Pogba may find it hard now anyway to get in the team. By the way, Graeme Souness did say that, he should regain full fitness for the Euros this year, because, the European Championships are this year and that. But Pogba has sustained a lot of injuries as a Manchester United player. I think we've quoted out that we want around 150 million for him this summer. Real Madrid came out a couple of weeks ago saying they only value him at £50 million. So that's 3 times less, than what, we're demanding for him. And it's around £39 million less than what we paid for him, because we paid £89 million for Paul Pogba. He is, of course, our most expensive signing. So it's very imperative that we do generate more money than, what we did pay for the player and that. But yeah, I can see, Pogba, leaving the football club in the summer. But yeah, I think the earliest we're looking at him being back is for the Manchester derby. But more likely, he will be involved in the game against Tottenham, will Paul Pogba. But us getting rid of him will generate a lot of money. And plus, it will free up our wage bill a little bit. How old is he now? Is he 26, 27 years of age? But, I think the mistake we did make was letting him go when he was younger. Because don't forget, we had him under Alex Ferguson when he was younger, Paul Pogba. But, due to limited appearances, we let him go on a free transfer. He also had bad disputes with Jose Mourinho, did Paul Pogba, and so too did quite a few other top players at the club had bad disputes with Jose Mourinho, and that's one of the main explanations why his tenure at Manchester United didn't work out. Jose Mourinho's and that. But definitely I can assure Pogba is on his way out of the football club this summer. But I do believe from my own perception we can afford to let Paul Pogba go. Like I mentioned, because Bruno Fernandes is doing really, really well. And I think, he's key to our rebuilding process under Solskjaer is Bruno Fernandes. He's been instructed to build a team around Bruno Fernandes and that. So yeah, so revert back to what I said, that's Graeme Souness's perception on Paul Pogba. He doesn't want to play for the football club. Solskjaer did say, by the way, his return is not imminent, but Paul Pogba gave us an update on his recovery. And he said, he is now close to returning. So that's actually, very, very good news and that. So, also to Roy Keane, like I said earlier on in the video, now he's come out and, criticised David De Gea, reflect on his calamitous mistake, like I mentioned, and he's made quite a lot of mistakes, as David De Gea, and I did say, he is becoming a liability. Now, Solskjaer has reacted to, Roy Keane, criticising David De Gea, and, he's basically, still insisted that David De Gea is still one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Obviously, David De Gea has been a long servant at Manchester United. He's now into his 9th season at the football club, and he has enjoyed, he's enjoyed 9 years here, but he's into his 8th season now at the football club. Is David De Gea. Now, I think analysing it, he's had a really, really good career with Manchester United. I think he's had a good 6.5 years out of the 8 years he's been at Manchester United, but I think at least in the last year and a half or so, he has become a liability as David De Gea. And from Roy Keane's perception, he believes that David De Gea could lose his place in the team. And, when Dean Henderson does come back from his loan spell with Sheffield United, we could make Dean Henderson our number one goalkeeper, because Dean Henderson has been a revelation for Sheffield United. And I think, the club made the right decision by, sending Dean Henderson out on loan to gain him more experience in that. But David De Gea is still regarded as one of the best goalkeepers in the world. People were critical of him for what he did yesterday. Some people just say, look, it happens in football sometimes, do mistakes. But David De Gea has, made over 300 appearances in the Premier League for the club, almost 400 appearances in all competitions. He's won the club's Player of the Year like 4 times. He's out of the last 5 seasons or something like that. He's won everything here domestically. Also, when we first got him in under Ferguson, enjoyed the first difficult season and that, but he's still a very, very good goalkeeper, he's David De Gea. And these reports saying, that David De Gea, could be possibly sold in the summer, the main explanation for that is to, generate, money to help us with our rebuilding process. And like I mentioned, Dean Henderson could become our number one goalkeeper. We know Madrid have been long admirers of him. Don't forget they were close to getting him in 2015. But due to fax machine on deadline day, the deal never materialised. Also, too, Juventus have been in for him and PSG have been in for him and that. So maybe, we will consider moving David De Gea on. But yeah, so he did react to Roy Keane's comments. But you saw match reaction, for the game yesterday. We did draw 1-1 with Everton. I said a draw wasn't enough, but it's not the worst result. I think, to be quite honest, we were dominated, large portions of the game, to be quite honest with you. So I think in hindsight, we was very, very unlucky, not to win the game. Obviously, Solskjaer had made around 5 changes from the 5-0 win against Club Brugge, but, we was very, very unlucky not to win it. I thought the game was totally comparison to the one last season at Goodison Park, because last season we lost 4-0 to Everton, and I think that's our worst defeat we've endured under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era. And like I mentioned, we've lost quite a few times at Goodison Park in recent years. But, looking at it on the other hand, Everton have rejuvenated themselves under Carlo Ancelotti. Like I mentioned, they've got a lot of good attacking in players, and, their record at Goodison Park is pretty decent. So a draw is not the worst result. Like I mentioned, Everton 1-0 up in the first 3 or 4 minutes from the mistake from David De Gea that led to Dominic Calvert-Lewin's goal. But then it was going to be interesting to see how he was going to respond, like I mentioned yesterday. And we did react very, very well. We got the equaliser through Bruno Fernandes. That's his 3rd goal for Manchester United this season, Bruno Fernandes. And he's enjoyed a fantastic start to his Manchester United career and that. And he's a very, very good player, is Bruno Fernandes. But he was also very, very good at Sporting Lisbon. But yeah, it was a very, very good strike, by the way. People are saying that Jordan Pickford should have saved that. I thought Matic had a really, really good game. Matic had a couple of chances. He also hit the crossbar in the game. Fred had a really, really good game. Harry Maguire, was very, very good in the air. He did win a lot of headers, so he did really, really well at the back. But yeah, both teams had chances. We had chances. Everton had chances. We did look wobbly at the back quite a few times. We let Everton in quite a few times. Calvert-Lewin had some chances for them. Richie Arlington imposed the threat. But yeah, so analysing it, probably a draw was a fair result. As you all know, Carlo Ancelotti had, been sent off right at the end of the game for ranting and raving at the referee. Obviously, Everton's disallowed goal was very controversial. obviously, people have got different perceptions on it. Now, some people are saying it was the correct decision to rule it out, and some people are saying, the goal should have been given and that. I think it had been disallowed because Sigurdsson was interfering in play. But like I mentioned, people have different perceptions on it. Obviously, Dominic Calvert-Lewin had struck the ball. Obviously, came off Harry Maguire. It didn't touch Sigurdsson, but I think, regardless whether it touched him or not, maybe it was the correct decision, I do not know. But a lot of Everton fans, of course, have disagreed with that. But, the goal wasn't given. The referee gave it, the assistant gave it, but VAR, currently disallowed the goal. So were Everton robbed by VAR? Have they been cost 2 points because of VAR and that? But like I mentioned, we had chances. Like I said, Odion Ighalo had a big chance when he came on. He should have scored for us. Bruno Fernandes had quite a few other chances in that. But it was disappointing that we didn't win the game because, if we'd have won the game, we'd have only been 1 point behind Chelsea. And Chelsea, have been so inconsistent this season. Wolves beat Tottenham 3-2, so, they're now level on points with us. Don't get me wrong, we are still in that top 4 race anywhere in that. But just let me know in the comments below, do you think that, goal should have stood of Everton's that was disallowed? I do really, really want to know and that. But, in the game, we played some expansive football. We showed good attacking intent. We created some good chances. It wasn't the best performance I've seen under Solskjaer, but, we wasn't poor in the game, let's be honest. But to be fair, we did react well to going 1-0 down. And like I mentioned, we've had some good results under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, since he's come in. We've done really, really well against elite opposition. Solskjaer's had a superb record against Chelsea. He's beaten them 4 times as a manager. He's beaten Frank Lampard 3 times. We're beating PSG. That was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's most iconic moment as manager. We drew with Liverpool. We're beating Leicester. We're beating City. We're beating Tottenham. So against elite opposition, we have done really, really well, to be quite honest with you. And I know prior to that, Solskjaer's record has been disastrous since he got the job permanently. But United fans have got their own verdicts on Solskjaer. Some United fans are Solskjaer in and some United fans are Solskjaer out. Some United fans would be determined to give him another season at the football club because this is only his first full season at Manchester United at the moment. My overarching view on it is I don't think Solskjaer is the long-term solution for the club. I just think he's too inexperienced as a manager. Obviously, he's been tactically naive for the vast majority of this season. Doesn't really know how to change a game. Maybe in some games, Solskjaer's tactically got it right, and I will credit him for that. And another thing I credit him for, he has been giving the young players their opportunities, which is, fair enough. He did confirm when he first came in anywhere that everybody, would get their opportunities in that. So I do credit him for that. I think we made a mistake by giving Solskjaer the job permanently, but the main explanation why we had give Solskjaer the job permanently is reflecting on what he did in that 3-month period when he was the interim manager and that. But, it's amazing, isn't it, how we can still finish in the top 4 when we have enjoyed our worst start to a Premier League season ever. But it just indicates how many teams have been poor in the Premier League this season. The Premier League has been very, very poor this season. I think, it's similar to the season when Leicester won it. A lot of the teams were poor, and that's the main explanation why Leicester won the league that season. But like I mentioned, there's still people coming out backing Solskjaer. You've got, obviously, Ed Woodward that's still determined to back him. He's laid the foundations for long-term success with him. Obviously, Matty just come out and give his own perception on Solskjaer and says, he's improving as Manchester United manager. Because to be fair, whilst he's on the job, he's gaining more experience. So the longer he's here, he's going to be gaining more experience. David Beckham, last week he came out and, he was backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and that. So there's still quite a few people, that are backing him. And I still think probably, quite a few of our players do believe in him. And I think if we can recruit the right calibre players to the football club in the summer, then possibly, we can be title contenders going on into next season. But I'm just hopeful next season we can enjoy a better season next season than what we've seen this season. And, the positive is, though, we are unbeaten now in 8 games in all competitions. Our last defeat did come to Burnley at Old Trafford when we did lose by 2-0. But since then, we've seemed to have built some momentum. There's been more confidence in the team and that. It's a shame that we didn't beat Everton, but like I mentioned, Everton are a really, really good team. And Everton themselves have had injuries. We've obviously, still got injuries. Players have just come back. Obviously, Solskjaer did confirm he's confident that Rashford, will return for the end of the season. Rashford did say he will return to the first team for the end of the season. Rashford, of course, has been out with a back injury that he sustained in the game against Wolves. Solskjaer made a mistake playing him in that game. But Rashford is a big miss in the team because he's been one of our best players this season, as Marcus Rashford. Like I mentioned, Paul Pogba's still out. Obviously, Tuanzebe and Fosu-Mensah, they're stepping up their fitness regime. Like Solskjaer recently mentioned, they're close to a reserve game or behind closed doors. Lee Grant, of course, is a long-term absentee. But obviously, Luke Shaw, since he's come back, to be fair, he's done really, really well because he was out for 2 months. Obviously, Anthony Martial's been in a good run of form recently. Obviously, there was doubts that he could have been involved in the Everton game prior to the game because he did miss the Club Brugge game, did Anthony Martial, because of thigh injury that he had sustained in training. But obviously, his injury wasn't that severe because he was involved in the game against Everton. Don't think he was good against Everton. Neither was Greenwood, to be fair, because they didn't really get enough service, to be quite honest with you. It was good to see, Greenwood get another start in the Premier League. And I did say Greenwood needs to get more starts in the Premier League without a shadow of a doubt. So Martial sustained quite a few injuries this season. Obviously, we do know that Eric Bay's just come back. Diego Dalot just come back from injury not too long ago. Scott McTominay's just come back, and I think since he's come back, he's also made a big impact in our midfield and that. So Man United have had a lot of injuries this season. That's had a bad effect on us, but it still hasn't been excusable for how inconsistent, we have been. It isn't excusable. But, a lot of teams that get injuries, it does seem to have a bad effect on them. Prime example, Tottenham have now got injuries. They're doing poor. Chelsea have had injuries. They've been inconsistent. Arsenal have had injuries. They've been inconsistent with their injuries they've had and that. The only team that hasn't been affected by injuries is Liverpool, because they've had a lot of injuries this season at Liverpool, but, they do continue. I know they've lost the first game now of the season in the Premier League, but I'm sure, Liverpool will bounce back for that. Definitely in that. And I think in the summer, Manchester United are going to spend a substantial amount. I think we're probably going to spend around £250 million on bringing more additions in the summer. These are a lot of players on our agenda who we could go in for. I'm going to delve into a bit more of the transfer news. I haven't read about the transfer news today because I have been busy. But since Solskjaer's come in, we have spent around £220 million on 5 players. That's how much Manchester United have spent and that. But, there's only 5 players that are Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So, analysing the vast majority of this team, it isn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's and that. But a lot of money's been spent at the football club in the last 6 or 7 years. We've spent around £1 billion on recruiting new players in all the managerial eras since the Ferguson era. So, that's disregarding what we spent under Ferguson. A good 67 million was spent under Moyes. 250 odd million under Van Gaal, 400 million under Jose Mourinho. Like I mentioned, the vast majority of these players are Jose Mourinho's, and £220 million under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So a hell of a lot of money's been invested into the football club. Not only that, we have got the highest wage bill in the Premier League. But so maybe we should give Solskjaer another season at the football club. Persistently sacking managers isn't always the right solution. Manchester United are not known for a sacking football club, despite the fact that we have sacked 3 managers since the Ferguson era. Of course, we got rid of Moyes, we got rid of Van Gaal, and we got rid of Jose Mourinho. So it's not always the right solution, persistently sacking managers, because not all of the blame stems from the manager. Players have got to take responsibility. Obviously a lot of United fans have got doubts about the club's ownership and Ed Woodward and that, because we don't like the way the football club's been run for several years. So I think everyone is definitely, accountable. Not all of the blame stems from Solskjaer and that. But it does take some managers time to settle in. Jurgen Klopp didn't settle in straight away at Liverpool. Ferguson didn't win out in his first 4 years when we recommended him in. He didn't win out in his first 4 years, Alex Ferguson. But look what he went and accomplished after not winning out in his first 4 years. He was absolutely unbelievable. The vast majority of the silverware we've won, obviously, came under Ferguson. We've only won 3 trophies since Ferguson's retirement, and that was the FA Cup under Van Gaal and the Europa League and the League Cup under Jose Mourinho, and that was in Jose Mourinho's first season. We haven't won out yet in terms of silverware under Solskjaer. We have got quite a few ambitions this season. One of those ambitions is the Europa League. It's a chance of getting silverware on the board, Plus, it's another route to Champions League football. And the FA Cup, that's also a priority for us because we are into the 5th round of the FA Cup. So I'd love Manchester United to win the FA Cup, definitely, because we haven't won it since 2015. And I think we are emerged, by the way, as one of the favourites to win the Europa League. Won it back under Jose Mourinho, and we are now into the last 16. We do go up against Lask, where I think are the Austrian. I think they're the Austrian league leaders are Lask. So in the summer, we don't need to see more incomings. We also need to see more outgoings in the summer. I expect around 4 or 5 players to leave Manchester United in the summer. The players I probably would get rid of, I'd definitely get rid of Lingard and Pereira because they're definitely 2 liabilities at the club. I'd also get rid of Chon and Gomez because their appearances are limited and not getting enough chances are Chon and Gomez. I'd also get rid Matic. I don't know, I know I said before I'd get rid of him, but he's recently rejuvenated himself, to be fair, as Matic. So maybe does he deserve another season? His current contract does come to expires at the end of the season. So yeah, people have different perceptions on Matic. Definitely get rid of Phil Jones because Phil Jones doesn't get enough opportunities, so get rid of him. So these 2 players that do need to leave. We need to get rid of Sanchez, by the way, on a permanent transfer. The good news is Sanchez isn't coming back to Manchester United this summer, even though Solskjaer did say back in January that, he will be coming back in the summer to prove everyone wrong. But I'm glad he's not coming back anyways. I am very, very delighted about that. So yeah, more players do need to be moved on. But if Solskjaer was to be sacked by Man United manager Ed Costas, he won't resign. He'd probably have to pay around 5 million to get rid of him. And I think our next manager would either be Pochettino or Massimiliano Allegri, if Solskjaer was to be sacked. But revert back to what I said about Everton, they're a very, very good team. It'll be interesting to see how Carlo Ancelotti approaches this summer because he'll want to make more signings. Carlo Ancelotti is Everton's 3rd manager this season, by the way. But, and he's one of the most decorated managers of all time. That game yesterday was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Carlo Ancelotti's first meeting as managers and that. But Solskjaer did say from his own perception he's got sympathy for Everton because I think from his own perception maybe he believes that was a goal. But obviously, like I mentioned, the goal was ruled out and that. And I think it's actually, the first own goal to be, ruled out by VAR, if I'm right. So, so more videos will be coming up very, very soon, guys. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel if you do consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon.